out in the wind. I'll give you a look where I'm at. That's New Mexico. That's Pueblo, Colorado area. Colorado Springs. Denver on the other side of that mountain, and Colorado Springs. That's about Fairplay down in there. And it goes all the way down there. That's the the whole headwaters of the Arkansas River. Anyway, I'm here where I picked up a hammerstone the other day, a really nice one. And I see that, and I see something else right there. And I'm going to try to do better with my filming, because I watch these videos, I'm like, what the hell? You can't even see what I might as well be doing a recording. Anyway, that's one of the arrowheads they make with this bipolar chipping. This one actually has the edges worked a little bit. That's pretty cool. And there's another one right here. Right there. Another one. These are archaic points. They're not like the points that you see. Right there is the hole where I got that stone out of it. And there's another one piece right there. Whenever you see anything like that, you're going to start seeing some more of it. That's an interesting piece right there. That is very old. But they had picked it up. See, a lot of the stuff that tricks me out here is there's been so many generations of people out here doing this, and I don't know if it's the same generation or other generations or other populations, but they've been here on and off for so long that they pick up the old tools that I'm finding too, the super archaic stuff. And so there's the super archaic right there. Look at that. Just freaking, where are you? I must be really zoomed. Oh, right there. A piece of jasper knocked into some kind of a point. Oh, it's like that. So maybe it's broke. It's broke. But we're on them. This area always is. And I was going to go a little bit further today. Up, there's another piece right there. Oh, right there. But I thought I would actually pick up. That's actually a knife piece that they made from another point. I have another one that looks almost just like that. And so they didn't mount these in handles and go to all that trouble. These people were the most efficient. I think that's why they probably survived out here. It's because they just cut through all the crap and did what they had to do to go out and hunt every day. These were everyday hunters. So everything is fooling me. I can't really tell. Oh, I got my glasses on. See that? Oh, I can't see with my glasses up close. So, anyway, there's a few of the points, but I kind of suspect that this area was pretty heavily populated by this same general bunch that I'm finding their stuff. And then over there in that area, I find more caveman type stuff. And then, of course, every once in a while I'll find something that's more modern Indian, like 5,000 years or less. You know, like 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago. Not 100 years ago. They definitely weren't here 100 years ago. But I do find like Ute arrowheads. I find some Clovis stuff. Of course, that's all on top of this archaic stuff. Because they did come out here and as they evolved or whatever, they always came back here. Well, that's Mount Blanca. That's the sacred white mountains to the Indians. You know, this area right here was all sacred hunting grounds, this whole wetland. For as long as they were the Indians here, the Ute, the Kickapoo, or not the Kickapoo, the ones up north here. I kind of get stuck in my wherever I'm at. This is another weird thing, man, I've been wanting to show you. Is look at this ant hill. Is probably about 50 years old. And it's dead. But someday some ant will come along and they'll redo it. Or it will just get spread out, right? And there's probably about a good wheelbarrow load of little gravels there that they pulled up. But some of these places out here that I'll get on, there's a high spot over there. There's one out there I see. And we're in a kind of a basin here. So this was probably part of the estuary. The estuary starts about a mile on the other side of the old farm there. Let me see if I'm actually saying the old farm. About a mile on the other side of that. If you go right there, that's Alamosa, right? And then if you go over here, that's White Sands. That's White Sands, or not White Sands, it's the Sand Dunes National Park. And then right here, in that gap, right, that's Zapata Falls. That's another Indian camp location where Indians lived up there forever. And these were people that came down out of the mountains, and I expect that they actually had an easier life up there in the winter with finding wood and stuff like that, and maybe rock caves or whatever at the time. I believe they must have had to have some kind of hide tents or something, like hide houses or something that they could throw up out here and live in. Of course, I'm never going to find any kind of evidence like that, because it just can't exist out here. This thing will eat anything on the ground that isn't a rock. Maybe a piece of glass, you know. I do find some of that. And there'll be areas where I won't find anything because the conditions just aren't right, because basically these were all wetlands and it was basically a marsh. Here's something. An archaic point. Now this is one of those where this was a round disc of a rock that had eroded down, right? And so these people broke it in half and made this arrowhead, and that was good enough for them. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. I'm taking it. But that's how they did it. I even collect the little discs out here. And the only way I know those discs are made is with that percussion napping that they do with the stones. So the two stones, one on top and one on bottom, and then they crack it, right? When they do that, it can create like a round disc, right? And I find modern ones where they've done it and they get that result. It's a spiral fracture is what it is, because of the conchoidal fracture of the rock, and because they hit it just right, instead of spalling out and creating a sharp fracture on both sides, it created a round disc in the middle. And you can use those. They're excellent for blanks or preforms so that you can nap them. But they didn't do much napping out here. These people that I'm tracing out here, these people, you know, basically the most they would do is they would probably use this rock. Now, I've got a bunch of these, right? That's all they needed. And I'll show you why. If you've ever looked at, let me zoom out a little bit or something. if you've ever shot just an archery arrow, you know, like a target arrow. I think I might have found another stone there. Just the tip is kind of formed like that. And if that thing hits you, believe me, you know, it could break your arm. It could break a deer's arm. It could definitely break a duck's arm or a duck's leg. And that's what they did. I'm not going to take that, but it's right there for you. It is something that they used on the end of an arrow, even though it wasn't sharp. Here's another one. And you can tell that was a pebble that they put down on that stone, and they hammered it. And when they looked down, that little arrowhead was made right there. And the reason why I'm finding those two arrowheads, I'll take that one, is because this was a marsh, and they killed or shot at a duck in here, right? And I always find that they tended to hunt in a group, so that right there is two other arrows. And what they would do is, it seems like they would just like get close to it and then let them fly. You know, there'd be like 5 guys that would shoot arrows, and then they'd load up and shoot again, and they might hit 2 or 3 ducks out of the deal. You know, maybe 4. And if they wound any, then they can easily chase them down and kill them. So, you know, I'm a hunter. You know, right here's one. There's a little nodule that they make this stuff out of. Look at that one. How archaic. Would you like that in your leg? Or in your heart? That is just a rock that's been split from the top to the bottom. And that's what naturally occurred with the fracture. That's what makes these people archaic. There's another piece right there. No. No. That's a piece of flint. I'll keep that. They didn't break that one. A lot of them they didn't get to. They didn't, you know, but that's what they were actually making their ammunition from, the stuff that was out here. And the only stuff out here is little nodules like this one right here. Now, if they would have found that, it would have been broke. That's just the way it worked. And they used the cane that is not here anymore. The animals aren't here anymore. The wetlands are not here anymore because we used the water. When we became a population in Colorado, we used the water. There's a piece right there. See how it's just a pebble? And they hit it and they cracked that dude in half. And believe me, the outsides of this thing is sharp. And they didn't need very much. They just needed something really on the end of that cane, because it won't fly right if you don't have some kind of weight on the end of the arrow, or the atlat air device, or whatever it is that they're using out here. I'm not sure if they're shooting arrows, if this bigger stuff is actually attached to an atlatl and fired out there. You know, there really is not a whole lot of like scientists and stuff like that. But right here, you can see, I don't know if you can see, but right here, it just dips down and it kind of goes that way. And this whole thing out here was like an estuary. And so they're out here shooting ducks and geese and swans and cranes. This is a migratory, this whole thing over there is the migratory wetlands for the Mexican blackbirds. That's what they would use for the red and black feathers. You know, they've got ducks of every kind. They've got every kind of goose. They've got every kind of, you know, the cranes from China come here, I think. There's cranes that nest out there. The wildlife area is only open 6 months out of the year, and it's closed right now. So, you know, it's closed to protect those migratory birds. Well, the Indians used to live off those migratory birds and everything else that came along with it, because wherever there was migratory birds, little nodules that they didn't quite get to, wherever the birds were, then it brought the rest of the animals in, because the birds brought the seeds would grow in the estuary, the animals, the deers, the buffalo, the antelope, whatever was actually here when the Ice Age, when they first came in here, this whole place was open. If you would have went over that mountain, there would have been about this much space on the other side of the mountain, and then all ice all the way to Kansas to Illinois. So there's no way that they could have populated that. They had to wait for that Ice Age to recede, and when they did that, they lived right here. They lived over the side. They lived all around here. They went south and southeast, southwest into New Mexico and developed the Pueblos, the Aztecs. I don't know if they actually made the Mayans and all that stuff, or if they came from the other way down through Spain. I really don't know that much about that area down there. But I like to know what I'm talking about with my own eyes. You know what I mean? So if somebody tells me something, I will go check it out. There's one right there. There's a little bit. And see, this thing was not made in the last 10,000 years. No. This thing was made like 50,000 years ago. But it was made with the same exact process of flint knapping on the bipolar flint knapping. And there's other pieces right here. I see, now I'm starting to see it. There's another little piece that they would have used. Anything that looks like this would have been on the end of an arrow. Anything that would have jabbed in there. Oh, there's another one right there. And so this is a little stash where they were sitting here making these things. And a couple of them got away from them, you know. But that was the arrowhead. That actually, they probably used that other half. Looks like the sharp half, right? It looks like the arrowhead was made from it. And they just tossed this part down. They can pick up another stone and make it. This was like little ammo dumps. There's another one. Made from the same guy, same day. And that's an arrowhead made out of a pebble. It's just how you look at it. But anyway, yeah, it's the same guy that's making all of this stuff. And this guy is at least 15,000 years ago. And I believe that older stuff goes back even further, up to maybe 50,000 years ago. I think there might, look at this piece. This is one of those very super archaic pieces that was not made by the people I'm following. It was made by their grandfathers. And there's another piece. Believe it or not, you want to look at that under a microscope, I will guarantee you will find the marks you need to see. And I see a nice little red piece right here. Oh yeah. Oh, it's just a natural one that looked like an arrowhead, and so they used it. It's not sharp, but it would have probably broke the animal's leg or whatever. And really, that's all they cared about, is just slowing them down enough to get their hands on them. Oh, another broke. And this is a super, super, super old one. This is a 50,000 year one. Right here with the other ones. Now, these rocks don't weather differently. Look at that one. I bet they were proud of that. And they cracked that in half and made that. That's what they were looking for when they actually made them and got the good ones. Yeah, it's just all over here. I see just a ton of it. Here's a piece right here. Cracked in half stone. Sure would have hurt if it got in you. There's another one. Oh, there's a little piece of... That's another super archaic. See how it's not crisp. It's not. It's been eroded by the sand and the wind out here. The sand and the wind blow, but anything sitting on top of here, a lot of times I pick this stuff up and it'll be sitting on 3 inches of sand that has blown away and left this thing sticking up in the ground, up in the air. There's a piece right there. Believe it or not. just stuck in the end of an arrow. And there's a piece they cracked and made that. This is called bipolar flaking. And that piece right there is 50,000 years old, and it's in Colorado. You tell me how it got here. There's another one. There's another one. And I always find them like that. You see, that it's just proving my point. Here's another one. So these guys were either sitting here building them at the time, or they're launching them at the you know. There's just so many. I'm not gonna look at. That's a nice one, actually. I say I'm not gonna pick them all up, but I pick them all up. Look at that. That is a fine example of bipolar flaking from a Neanderthal person becoming an American Indian. Bam. This looks like a hot spot right here. What do we got? Oh, this is one of those round rocks. Right? The round pebbles that I told you that was napped off ancient years ago in the pebble method. And then these people came along and they just found it and they snapped off a corner of it or two and turned it into that. They're ridiculous little people. Look at that. Look at that. So yeah, this was another area where they were smashing them. I see them all over. I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking over. Here's one. Here's one. We'll just go through here and kind of pick them up. Here's an ancient tool, right? Here's an ancient scraper. It's not sharp anymore, like flint. It's been deteriorated. I think this is a scraper that they picked up and they were using from the ancient people, and they used it themselves to scrape a hide or something. Here's another piece. Any piece like that that's cracked is a piece. I see some bigger pieces right here. Oh, what do we got? Just in one handful. There's one. There's one. Yes. Look at that one. They actually went to the trouble to actually make it look like an arrowhead, but it broke out of one of those flat rocks. See, they broke that in, they broke that, and then it broke actually, I guess. Or maybe it didn't, you know, it don't look like it broke. I think they were just going to use it like that. But they didn't use this stuff, I don't believe. I believe they used other parts of it, and I'll find it around, you know, where they've in the ponds and stuff where they killed stuff with it. That one they would have wanted to use. That one, yeah. And I just don't know if I should pick it all up or just or kind of maybe GPS these locations like this where it's just everywhere. And normally I've just been kind of picking up the newer stuff that I find, like the Ute arrowheads that everybody can recognize, you know. There's a piece that's broke, done in the same process. There's a nice little flake that they created from it. There's bird points. These are the first bird points in North America, so don't, you know, got to give them a lot of credit, man. These people were transitioning from mammoth hunting to duck hunters. I have found bone that they napped. And there's just so many, man. I'm just going to leave them because this is a hot spot on my property. And so I'm just going to leave it here. There's no need for me to pick it up. Unless it's something really cool. Yeah. Perfect example. That's what the rock looked like when they picked it up. That's what it looked like when they got done. Now they could have took that and they put it down on the stone and they hit it again, and they can actually spall off these little things and make that knock the flakes off of it and turn that into an arrowhead, a real one. But these guys didn't really even go to that trouble. Look at that big old archaic point. Now that had to either be on an atlatl or spear. And there's just so many. This is a good area right here that I found. And there's just so many. Look at this crate. Oh, and that's I like finding the stuff, you know. I think it's important. There's one. Cracked in half. The snow don't do that. The deer don't do that. Man did that. And it was man, just like you and me. Look at that one. Crazy. There's just a whole handful of them here of crazy ones. And I like the ones where they use the flint, you know, or the jasper or something. Oh, there's one too. Nice little odd one. No doubter though. Had a lot of work done to it. For these guys, if they spent more than 5 minutes on it, it was a lot of work. There it is. Boom. But see, another thing when you're napping out here, these people were survivalists. You can tell that these people were here trying to survive. And so they weren't messing around. They didn't have time to sit around on their ass all day and nap out 1,000 arrowheads for, you know, for the tribe or whatever. Now, these were small groups of Neanderthal evolutionaries that were coming out of the mountains and trying to switch their survival methods, downsizing, you know, micro-sizing. Look at this one. Yeah. Boom, in the pocket. So, most people, they just don't get it. I get it. You were here. I see you. That's how I determine whether or not stuff is a reality. Here's a big pile right here, where all of these little pieces are the pieces that they napped off of bigger stones to create these tools. And maybe not the people I'm chasing. This could be the older people that cracked all this stuff and left all this stuff, because it's all really, looks like it's all really eroded and not fresh, not 5,000 years ago, which is fresh out here, I think. Now, I have found some Ute arrowheads in this area, which are, you know, they look like an arrowhead. Look at that one. No doubt that was made in that same process that I'm describing. And they're everywhere. Here's another one. This is a natural stone. They never did anything to it. This is either natural or it was done by the super archaic people, because look how old that break is. And you know it's not natural. So now you know what I'm saying. Is these people were here, man. They were right frickin' here. And they came from right there. And where that is if you keep going as far as you can that way, you'll go up into the mountains, over the mountains, into the Fairplay Basin. And then you will go up through Colorado, into Montana, Wyoming, Montana, all the way up into the Canadian Rockies, into the Alaska, and then back across the Siberian crossing, which I don't think it was a land bridge. I think they just crossed in the winter with dog sleds and stuff. I think they had that technology way back then, even though it didn't make it here. Because what happened is people would leave Siberia 14,000 years ago, or earlier, 100 times. They would make that crossing in the winter. They would become, over on the other side, Inuit Eskimos. The Inuit would move into the mountains and they would start becoming the mammoth hunters. So it's not like, it's like people did not make it in one lifetime to very far. They made a pretty good life out of it or whatever it looks like, but they didn't make it very far. And so, you have a kid on the way. It takes 10 years before that kid is not a burden, right? And so if you have 4 or 5 women that have kids that are burdens and stuff, that is a big group. Oh, I got a piece right here. It's a piece of material. Whoopsie. And what happened is this right here is part of a stone that I am finding all over this property, or several stones. And what they are the old hammer stones or tools that they brought with them, right? This could be like the caveman's grandfather's hammerstone, right? You can see right here is the wear. That's the evidence of the use of this stone. Before it was cracked. But I find that I have a bunch of these that are actually cracked, that it looks like they were trying to make arrowheads out of them because they didn't need the tool, or they needed the arrowhead more than the tool. And it was becoming obsolete. You see what I'm saying? Because this is their tool that now they've cracked. Although right here, that looks like they've been using that for a shaft shave. On both sides, probably. Oh yeah, now I see it. That's a shaft shave. But it was a pounding tool before. Oh wow, that is archaic. But you can see they slid their shaft just right through there, and this was for a different, for smaller ones. Holy crap, could they have had an arrow that looks like 2 or 3 different sizes, 2 different sizes at least. Wow, these people amaze me. Anyway, we go on. That's a turd. I pick up a lot of dog turds out here. Well, coyote. So really, it's just a little mouse packet. Look at this one. Natural stone broke right in half. Whoops. Where are you? Huh. I can't see. Anyway, that's that brecciated jasper. I actually have an arrowhead made out of the same material. That's a real arrowhead. That's Ute. But that's what that is. That's brecciated jasper. It's been busted, bipolar flaking method, and dropped here on the ground. I guess I'll just keep picking all of it up. I can't help myself. There's something looks a little bit better. Yeah, see, that looks very old too. That looks like that super archaic stuff. Don't look like my people broke that, but somebody did earlier. Here's one. There you go. One super archaic point. Look at that piece hanging on it. Would made another little point. That's what it was. Started out as a half of a pebble, about this big. There we go. I've seen another one laying here somewhere. That's not it. Yeah, there's one. There's a flake one. That's a vicious looking one. Yeah. Another one. So, there's another one. Vicious looking on that side, just a rock on that side. Now you know the game. And there's one right there too. They cracked it. I don't think they was able to use it for anything, but they made that. And there's the pebbles and flakes of... They probably had their kids out here collecting just everything that they probably could, if they're like any other human. And the kids would drag home everything. And a lot of these spears that wind up in the pond could have been their boys out hunting, you know what I mean? You know how that goes. Oh, but yeah, they're just crazy artifacts. Quit going big on me, damn it. I hate the Samsung phone. Let me tell you that right now. Samsung is crap, man. There's something. Sharp points, all they need to get you. Or get a deer. Well, you know, I think they needed sharp tools for certain things like deer, stuff like that. Now that right there might take out a deer if that was attached to an atlatl or something like that. There's just so many, I'm not going to pick them up. I'm going to leave this stuff on. Here's the other half to that one rock that they cracked in half, it looks like. I found that way over there. And here's the same kind of rock that they would crack in half to get that, only different color. You know, a flat rock right there. Give them two halves. Then they come up with, you know, something like this with a pebble, which was really better. It's a pretty dangerous thing if you think about it. And of course, got this looking thing. Holy crap, I mean, it'll kill you either way. Here's another one. Cracked. But this looks very old, man. I don't know, man. And there really is, I don't think there's really any way to differentiate without carbon, you know. So unless I can find like a fire pit and then dig down and then find some more of this stuff under the fire pit, I don't know how else you could prove that this stuff was that old. But you're never going to find a fire pit out here. I mean, there's just everywhere. It's a good spot. There's a crazy one right there. Oopsie! Oh.